Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Subway Soundwaves, the podcast where we try every item on the Subway menu and give a review about them. This is episode 1. This week we will be talking about the ham and turkey bacon cheese melt with pepper jack cheese. I am your host, Logan Moore, and I ate a sandwich.
I'm not too keen on the amount of ham and turkey that they chose to put in the sandwich.
You were the one you were at the counter. You said, "Give me the double meat," and they said, "Okay." So they put the double meat on there.
It wasn't enough.
That was your fault.
They're skimping out on the meat. I need more meat, more turkey, more ham.
That's why you pay for the double meat. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 94. Yeah. We still need to figure out 100 plans. So we got 2 more, and then we got a bunch of E3 episodes, and then figure that out. We'll figure it out when we go live proper. Are you ready?
We're going to figure that out on the air?
Sure. Talk about it at least.
I don't know.
I can't say we'll figure it out, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we got a schedule plan. I'm almost set. Let me just finish this thing.
Bark.
Open up my water bottle because you got to stay hydrated for podcasting.
Why do you have luggage behind you?
Oh, that was a graduation gift from my grandmother, my great-grandmother.
Where are you luggaging to?
I'm going to the Caribbean for the honeymoon, so
Yeah.
that's really what she bought it for.
I need some for E3 because the suitcase I usually take with me I know is too small. And I know I'm going to come home with 25 pounds of
Merch?
swag, most likely. So I need to get something a little deeper. But at the same time, I want to make sure it's still carry-on so that I don't have to pay $50 fees both ways for...
What airline you flying?
You
don't remember?
I don't know. I can't remember. Think
It's Southwest. It's all free.
Yeah, Southwest is also more expensive.
I mean, yeah, they just put it in the
I think
cost.
it is Delta and American. I can't remember. I do it all through Expedia.
Expedia.com.
That's been good for me so far, at least.
All right. Everything's good to go. Audio levels look good. We're recording. My timesheet is
Picking a
up.
pop filter. I've been meaning to do that for like a very long time.
I'd get one of the foamy ones that you put over the mic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
You should.
I also need a new table. I also need a bunch of stuff. Luggage, a backpack. I need a portable recorder. I need a new table. I need some clothes. I need some shoes.
Buy a nice portable recorder.
I am.
Get a nice one. Like a H something Zoom.
No, I am. It's $100. I've already looked at it and got it.
Which one is it?
Figured out. I'll send you the Amazon link later.
Cool.
It's on my list thing. We also need to renew this show.
Yep.
And then
I should be getting a check today or tomorrow, and I'll PayPal that cashola to you.
That works. So we need to pay for the show, and then we need to. I need to pay off some of my car, and then just a bunch of stuff.
Big boy
right
things.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. Yeah. Anyway, let's go. Welcome everybody to episode 94 of the Millennial Gaming Speak podcast. I am your host Logan Moore, and it is May 21st, the week of May 21st. With me, as always, is Max Roberts. Hi, Max. What's going on?
Nothing much. Just prepping for E3 on our end. Since you're going to be gone, you're going to fly away.
Mm-hmm.
Magical boy,
Mhm.
going to the show. So I got to do all this podcasty stuff. I was thinking today, I was like, man, I'm going to have to actually log into the show's email account and record.
Yeah, I will have to teach you how
to set up the Hangout. I was like, oh, I don't know how to set up the Hangouts. I just do the audio.
Yeah, because you don't know how to do that yet.
I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, I got to do all of that. But I think we talked before the show off the air. I think we've got a pretty good plan as far as this show's content for all varieties of things. So I'm looking forward to it. I was looking at my calendar.
So here's the plan. We'll mention it again next week.
All right.
2 weeks from now, episode 96, predictions episode. So we're going to do all our predictions in one episode.
June 4th?
June 4th, live on YouTube. And then
immediately
we will post that episode ASAP so that it actually has as long a lifespan as humanly possible.
It's going to go up that night.
It'll go up that night on Sunday if Max doesn't have a television show to watch on Sunday night.
Actually, that is when Fear the Walking Dead comes back, but I think the people I watch with are going to be out of town on a cruise. But either way, it's going up that night. I'll just stay up and put it up. So Monday morning, June 5th, it will be live for everyone, along with the next episode of Behind the Pixel. So both of those things go up on the same day.
Oh yeah, it does go up the next day. So we'll post that as soon as possible. That'll be our predictions episode. We talked about doing like a bunch of them. We just decided to do one.
How are we doing the predictions in the show? We're doing 5 for each of the big 3.
Mm-hmm. So and we'll run over this again when we actually record it. But 5 predictions, and then we're gonna throw all the third parties into one basket and predict 5 for collectively EA, Ubisoft, and Bethesda, because as we'll get into with the news later, Bethesda has kind of already showed their hand, and EA really doesn't reveal new stuff too often at E3, at least with what they've been doing with EA Play. So there's not a lot of predictions to be had between those two, which leaves us with Bethesda, which I think there are more predictions to make with that company.
I think you did say Ubisoft. You said Bethesda revealed their hand this week.
I thought I said Ubisoft. Anyway,
yeah, he
reversed. So Ubisoft kind of showed everything, and we'll talk about that. But so we're going to do 20 predictions in all for both of us,
and that will be time coded out, so you can check the notes. And
we'll
hear
get
Xbox. You can jump to Xbox.
We'll get that all situated out. But yeah, we'll mention that again next week and the week after. But that at least gives us the longest period of time to go or to drag us out until E3, because companies are still revealing a bunch of stuff, as we will get into once again with the news this week. There's still a lot happening in the lead up to E3, so we don't want to predict things that then may be confirmed or denied before the show ever begins. So this is the best way for us. And plus, I think Max thought we were going to do a 3-hour episode. It'll probably be 90 minutes if I had to guess. So I don't think it'll be too long, but that's what we're doing with that. As far as post E3 or in the midst of
E3 coverage,
E3 coverage in general, Max will be manning the podcast on with that, and I think we're going to do one per day, Sunday,
Monday. And that was my roommate. Apparently, very good Dota play. Apparently, I'm gonna have a different guest on for each of the shows at the end of the days. I'm aiming for someone that knows the big company of that day. So someone who's pretty intimate with Microsoft, someone who's pretty intimate with Sony, and someone who knows Nintendo. We'll recap third-party stuff that happens during that day. So like on Microsoft's, we'll throw Bethesda in there. On
it'll be a day breakdown more than it
but
is
it'll mostly cover the big.
Tuesday will be primarily Nintendo because that's it.
Tuesdays, yeah. Unless Devolver.
I may call in for that one though, or I'll try to call in for all of them, but I'll try to call in for Tuesdays as well, and just be like, "Hey, here's what E3 is like, and here's how much diarrhea is currently in my pants because I'm here."
Yep, so. I'll be around the computer pretty much, so we'll be able to record any of Logan's call-ins, and I'll just throw those in the audio versions of the shows as well. So that removes the need to schedule everything out, since your schedule is kind of while meetings are set in stone, the rest of it is pretty fluid, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be like normal. And then I get home that Friday. I will be dead for 2. It'll be very much like Jesus, where I assume that I will be dead for Friday and Saturday, but then I will rise back on Sunday, and maybe we can record a podcast.
We'll probably record on Sunday or Monday.
So.
E3.
We'll figure that all out. But yeah, E3 continues to approach. Fun time to be talking games. Obviously, the best part of the year, I think, other than when maybe a new console or something comes out, but that's not every year. So E3 is the best time for games, and
Christmas is
very much looking forward to actually attending this year, and not only being there for the conferences and for the show, but just like meeting and talking to the people and seeing. I mean, there's this whole other side to the show that we've never seen, which is the actual playing of the games that have been shown off or revealed. Assuming that they are playable on the show floor, but that's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to that experience. And I'm sure there will be a 3-hour podcast with me talking about everything that happened there once I
every
get
little
back.
detail.
It's very similar to the PSX one. The PSX one was spread out. Well, it'll be the same thing here at E3, I guess. I was going to say the PSX one was spread out across 3 or 4 days, and I talked about that entire trip. This one's spread out across like a week, so it'll be fun. It'll be a good experience for me. I'm very much looking forward to it. But in the meantime, so what have you been doing game wise? Same old Persona and Mario Kart probably, and that's it.
Yep, same old.
I played Mario Kart last night. My friend came over with his Switch and we played it.
Yeah,
it's Mario Kart.
Yep,
that's my review. I mean,
it's fantastic. I was playing last night with Alex O'Neill and his friends.
I'll get it at some point down the road, but that's the thing. I had been really looking at it. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll cave and get it. Maybe I'll get it. And then I played it and I was like, all right, I got that out of my system. Like it's fun, but it's just Mario Kart, which is
great. It's so much fun.
It's not a bad thing, but it's just, again, there's so much else right now that I'm trying to play and get to and get my hands on and get a feel for. And I want to do that as badly as I can. I'm also trying to open things up this year too. So I've chosen a really bad year to do this, but I'm trying to taste new genres or games that I typically don't go out and try.
When are you going to play that MOBA?
When am I going to play what?
A MOBA?
Never. I mean, that's not on my list of to do. Mainly, I'm trying to sink into Japanese rooted games a little bit more.
You're done. You're going to mention this in a minute. You're done with Prey. Jump on Persona.
I'm not going to jump on Persona yet.
You can leave your PS4 in rest and do remote play across the country.
No, thank you. No, I'm not going to play anything during E3 besides the games that are on the show that I have to play, or the games that I'm demoing or whatever. There's no way I'm not bringing. I mean, I'll think about it, but I don't think I'm going to bring a console on the trip with me.
I would think you'd bring the plane. Switch.
I don't know. I'm not going to bring the Switch. I don't have anything to play. Zelda. I don't know. It'd be more than anything. It'd be like, oh, cool. Here I am with my Switch on the plane. All right. I don't know. I guess I'll take a nap. I don't know. I typically don't game that much on the planes either. Maybe if I did it a little bit more. I mean, so Persona's the obvious Japanese game, yes, but
Nier Automata,
Yakuza's on the list as well. And then there was something else I think that I wanted to get to at some point, but I can't remember what it is right now.
Didn't it just come out too not long ago?
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't.
Neo?
Neo I have, yes. I'd like to play that at some point. It's just a lot of
another
stuff.
Japanese game that just came out.
I really want to get into the Souls games more. I mean, I've played Bloodborne, obviously, and that's one of my favorite games ever. So I really feel like I owe it to myself to go back and play Dark Souls. I own all of them, and then I own Neo as well. So I own most of the Soulsborne genre games, I guess. I mean, I own Demon Souls 2 on my PS3. I own all of them. I've just never played them, and I'd really like to. So will I do that? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But in addition to that, I can't talk about this, but I'm reviewing something right now. I actually haven't started at all, so I couldn't give any thoughts. As soon as we finish this podcast, though, I will probably be spending the remainder of the afternoon and evening diving into that, though. And my review will be up for it later in the week on DualShockers, so you can check that out.
Keep your eyes peeled on that Logan's Twitter feed at moreman12 for a spicy review.
Thank you. As far as Prey goes, so I finished Prey today. I actually...
Moments before the podcast.
I have not played games much the past 2 or 3 weeks. I dove in and did that Kingdom Hearts run through, and that was fun, and that was an enjoyment to go back to. have not really played anything since then. And so I had gotten Prey on launch day or around there, something like that. And I put a couple hours into it that weekend, but then really just, I don't know. I've been like super busy lately, either with stuff we do for Model Citizens, recording those every night, or I don't know. I've been hanging out with friends a little bit more. I don't know. I've just been a little bit more busy, so I haven't had time.
Social.
Yeah. I didn't get any time last week to play games really, or if I did, I was just tired and I didn't feel like it. So I think I played Prey for probably like 10 hours yesterday and maybe another 5 or 6 the night before. I played that game. I've probably played between Friday and Saturday like 15 plus hours of Prey. I just wanted to get through it. It is way longer than I thought it would be. Okay, what did you think that game would be about lengthwise?
10 hours?
I put about 25 into it.
Oh,
there is way more to that game than I expected.
Is that good or bad? Because one of the negatives for Uncharted 4 in reviews was it was a little longer than people wanted it to be. So did that hamper your
I mean, you could beat it in 10 to 12 if you beeline the story. I was doing as many side missions as I could. I was exploring every nook and cranny of that ship. So I was playing it at a slow pace, and that obviously dragged the game out for me.
Methodical.
I didn't play it so much so that it was like I added an extra 12 or 13 hours on. I mean, obviously doing the side, if you just did the story, you could beat it very quickly, or not very quickly, but like probably 10 hours, like you said. But I don't feel like that's the way you want to experience that game. I really feel like it is a slow and plodding game. As far as the length goes, I didn't feel like it started to drag until the last 2 or 3 hours. You get to this point, and I actually I've got an editorial or a feature in my head stewing about this, where this is a problem I see with a lot of games, where you get to this point, which is the climax, and you feel like you've reached it. And obviously, as we learn in school and stuff, like, how do you build a good story? You lay the groundwork, then the rising action, you get the climax, falling action, conclusion. Like, that is how a story should operate. There are these games
Freytag's pyramid.
It's not called that, I don't think.
I think it is.
I've never heard that term used before, at least. You don't need to research and clarify.
I'm gonna find it out.
But so that's how a good story should operate. And a problem I see with a lot of games is that you get to this climax or what feels like the climax at least, and then internally, like, I'm expecting like, okay, here goes the big moment, and I'm like almost preparing for it to kind of start to ramp down from that and then get to the actually what is the end of the game. And instead it kind of turns itself on its head. It's like, this isn't the climax. Just kidding. Raise the stakes even more. And it's like, that's not a bad thing, I guess, but it was something I was not prepared for. Like, so within the last 3 hours, this new character out of nowhere gets inserted into the game's plot. And this whole third party is now in the midst of this scenario that you have been, and it's not like awful, but it was like, this is weird. So, I mean, and it's the same thing I'll say about BioShock too. Like, I love BioShock, probably one of my top 2 favorite games ever. But it's the same thing where the climax of that game is going to Andrew Ryan's office and figuring out everything that happens there. And then there's like 4 hours of gameplay after that. And it's like, they should have ramped this down way quicker. It should not have dragged like this, because it ruins the pacing of games. And to get to this point where you feel like you're almost done and there's been this tight, focused narrative, and then you bring somebody else and throw them into the middle of that mix, it just like doesn't gel. And I don't think it was a bad thing. It didn't ruin the game by any means for me. It wasn't straight up bad, but it was just like, this is like, you should have just wrapped this up, because it is not you're not doing yourself any favor to just drag it out and insert a new character and just try to have this guy screwing with everything that's been happening, screwing with the dynamic of what's been happening in this game. So that was not a bad thing, but I was like, this could have ended so much tighter if they had just cut about 2 hours off of the end of this game. That said, and I talked about this last week, there are so many systems in that game. There are so many gameplay systems in that game that they just stack right on top of each other. And I don't know how they all work together, but they do. And it is so cohesive. You get like halfway into the game, they throw in a Resident Evil 3 Nemesis type thing where you'll just be walking around and all of a sudden a giant monster comes up out of nowhere and you either have to fight it or hide. Like, there are so many things going on in that game, and somehow they all work together. And Arcane, what this game really showed me was that it's built out of the same groundwork of Dishonored. And where I didn't like Dishonored, this clicked so much more with me. Like, Prey is such a well-designed game, and I think Arcane is like one of the best right now with just building levels, the pure game design, laying out these levels, and then building the systems that go along with these levels, and really just giving you the freedom to tackle these situations in the way that you see fit. And also, what I love about these games, even with Dishonored, like, I appreciated this because you can do this at least to an extent in Dishonored. You can totally screw things up. Like, you can kill anyone. You can finish the story like way before you're supposed to finish the story. Like, I got about halfway into the game and I found a key for an escape pod, and I was like, I can technically escape now. And there was still like all these things I needed to do to like help other people. But instead, just for the heck of it, like, I saved my game and went to the escape pod and escaped, and game over. So there are like multiple endings in these games. And we're going to talk about that aspect of Prey later. But also, like, so many things that you think are small end up being big. And you like, for instance, I killed a side character in this game that I did not know was like an integral side character. And it was an accident. And when he died, I was like, like, I'm sure he was a nobody. Come to find later, that guy was very important. And I killed him. And it didn't screw up the game's narrative or anything like that. But there's this entire side mission centered around this guy. And I accidentally killed him. I was like, I'm sure it's not that important, whatever. And I just kind of went along. And turns out it was very important. So I like missed out on that element of the game, but I didn't feel like gypped or anything about that because of that, because like, I'm playing and making these decisions as I go, and some of them have an effect on the story and some of them don't. Like, Arcane's they're very good. They're a very, very sound developer, and I'm glad that they have this Prey license now, even though it's not related to the other ones in any way. They just, in terms of gameplay systems and having everything work together, it's really staggering, and it's just really cool too. Like, okay, so like one thing I'll get into a little bit more too, before I wrap this up, because I know it's turning into a rant. Early on in the game, there are turrets throughout the station, and you're not very powerful, and these turrets are meant to like spot the aliens and kill them. And so you can carry the turrets around with you and deploy them and help them clear out areas for you. As you get further into the game, you start getting upgrades and you start being able to use the alien powers yourself. The more of these things you add to yourself, the turrets then see you as an enemy as well. And so the turrets that you have utilized up until that point then start turning on you. So you have to worry about not only the other alien species that you're trying to fight, but then the defenses within the station itself are starting to turn on you as well, because you've upgraded yourself to have the powers of these things that you're trying to fight. There's just a lot of really cool things like that I totally dug with this game. The story itself is like also really cool. I'm still kind of trying to put the pieces together with how it ended in my head and figure out exactly what happened. I'll have to probably do some Googling after the show and figure out if I understood things properly. And we're going to come back later in topics and talk about something dealing with this that I really want to touch on. But it's just like, it's a very well-developed game from Arcane and Bethesda, and they should both be proud of what they did with this game. Totally suggest it to anybody who's a fan of BioShock or System Shock or anything like that. Or if you're like Dishonored, like if you really like Dishonored, then I really think you will like this game as well.
It's got the Logan Moore seal of approval.
I mean, it's just a sound quality video game in a year of sound quality video games. So
game of the year this year is going to be tough.
It's going to be very tough. But this one stands out to me. I don't think, I mean, it doesn't feel like it is breaking new ground necessarily. Like, I don't know if like 5 years from now we'll be like, wow, remember what Prey did, but it's more just like, this is what they've learned from Dishonored. And it is a different studio. Like, it's not like there are two Arcane studios and one was doing Dishonored, obviously. I mean, the same studio wasn't able to put out both Dishonored 2 and this within 6 months of one another or whatever it was. But it's just, you can tell they've learned so much as a studio about what works and how things work together, and just giving you the player freedom, but not to like the extent of an open world game where it's kind of like Zelda, where like they give you that freedom and then they give you these gameplay mechanics and they're like, here's the things you can do, here are the rules, go. And you can really try to start figuring things out for yourself. That's kind of how it is with Prey. So it's a good game. I liked it. Glad I played it.
Logan Moore seal of approval. He should play Persona next, but we'll see if he does.
I kind of want to go back to Mass Effect. I don't want to start Persona. E3's coming up. I'll be out, and then I don't know. I've got things to review coming up. I've got a couple games I'm slated to review, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, if you're interested in Prey, give it a shot. I also know it's like already going on sale because it didn't sell that well, which I don't think is a huge shock. A lot of people are pointing to Bethesda's review policy. I just don't think the game had much
advertising.
Like, yeah, well, advertising for one, yes, but two, like, I don't feel like there was like a fervent group of people who were waiting for this game. Like, it kind of just came out, and I don't think anybody was ready for it.
They announced it last year, and now it's here.
Yeah, so I mean, but if you're interested at all, I think you should check it out. I'm pretty sure it's even going on sale like $40 at Target this week. So play it.
That's
I know there's 1,000 other things out, but play it if you get the chance.
We'll see. Ready for that news?
I am ready for said news. So news this week, whole bunch of stuff to go over. More E3 laying the groundwork type scenarios with a bunch of things that we will get into. Let's start off with some more basic stuff, though. And let's start off with something I've been sitting on for a couple weeks.
Logan with the chest of industry secrets and insider scoops.
A very small insider scoop, I guess. Nex Machina, the next Housemarque twin stick shooter, is coming out on June 20th. I have been talking about this game for months. I played it at PSX. It was my PSX game of the show. It is one of my most anticipated games of the year. It is coming out on June 20th. Housemarque announced this on Friday.
How did you know this?
So I interviewed them a couple weeks ago. You can go check out the interview on dualshockers.com. It is it gives you an insight into the development, how they worked alongside Eugene Jarvis, creator of Defender, Robotron 2084, Smash TV, Cruis'n USA, a bunch of old school games like that. Talks about him working with Housemarque to create this game, what his role was within the team, and then what they're trying to accomplish with it, because it is very much. Most of Housemarque's games are like this, but they are very rooted in old school game design, especially with the twin stick thing. Like, that was something that used to be prevalent in arcades a lot back in the 80s and 90s. So they go into they talk to me about just what they're trying to find at the root of those games and then bring that into the present. I think I titled the article something like "Finding What Lies at the Heart of Old School Arcade Shooters." So it's I enjoyed the interview. If you're interested in the game, I think you'll enjoy it. They give us some good information from just about the game's development to even like PS4 and Scorpio and Switch and stuff like that. So it's good. But yeah, the game looks awesome. I cannot wait to play it June 20th. Check it out.
It's shaping up to be mighty fine.
So that game is like, I mean, so we've known this for a while with their games, and I touch on this in the interview as well with them, but there is so much going on in the back end of their games that is just really heavy duty on the consoles. So like I asked his name's Michael, essentially like if they were thinking of bringing the game to Switch, and he said, no, it's console exclusive and stuff like that. He's like, however, I don't even know if it could run on a Switch if we tried to bring it over. And it's the same thing with Resogun when they tried everybody was saying
fair,
like, bring it on Vita, bring it on. No, it did go to Vita, but it was at 30. It was at 30 frames per second. There was like not as many voxels at all. It was like a totally different game. Like, I did not like it on Vita at all.
It feels very different. I mean, it's there, They did
because
it.
those games have to operate at 60, and that's the thing. Is he said, I asked him about PS4 Pro too and what they're doing with 4K, and he's like, that's hard. He said, because we have to make sure this game is locked at 60 at all times, because if it's not, then you can't play it. Like, you can't play it properly, at least. Like, if there's any dips in the frame rate with that game, then it is like you're gonna screw up, because it is so dependent on that frame rate running that way. And because of that, he said that it's been hard for them to then find a comparable resolution because of that. So it's a complicated, I don't want to say mess, but there's so much more going on within the back end of those games and the engine that they use, and it is more taxing on a console or a PC than I think people would think, because it at a bare bones level, it's just like, it's a twin stick shooter. So why can't this run on anything? And it could, but the engine they're using and the graphics they're putting out and the amount of particles in those games, like, it is
every individual voxel.
It's a lot more. There's
intensive.
A lot more going on than you expect.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
I'm excited for that game though. It's gonna be mighty fine. It's like
Resogun. It's going to be very good. I think it's going to be better than Resogun, honestly.
Gameplay wise, it looks a lot like it, like the same kind of idea, just it's top down.
It's top down,
which is like Dead Nation.
Which is, I mean, yeah, it's very different though. I think
fast. You're jumping around. There's power ups.
There's almost like a platforming element to it at times, and there's like a dash ability and things like that, so you get past lasers, and then obviously saving the humans and things like that.
Save the humans.
Resogun. There's that game.
Very excited.
Very, very good. So you should keep an eye on that one if you have not done so far. But yeah, it was really cool for me to talk to those guys, because I appreciate their work so much. And I met them at PSX, and they were cool. I enjoyed talking to them there. But it was good to hit them up again closer to launch and see what's been up with that, and hear about how the development's been on that game. So again, if you want to read that interview, it's over at DualShockers.
I'm gonna throw a link to that interview at the bottom of the show notes.
Yeah, cool. There it is. Just click it, scroll down. You should be able to tap it. There you go. Now you're reading my interview. More small tidbits of news this week. Witcher is getting a Netflix series, which has been a trend, sort of. I don't know. We've got the Castlevania Netflix series that's coming sometime, and then now we've got this Witcher one. Was there another one as well?
There were rumors a long time ago of a Zelda one, but I
don't think that was ever real.
No, there were talks. Like, Netflix people talked about it, but nothing concrete. It's cool. The Witcher totally would be a Netflix series as far as the content. It could be their Game of Thrones. It's that fantasy type setting. It'll be cool. It's not associated with CD Projekt Red in any way.
Nope.
So maybe the author.
Well, again, yeah, that's the thing. So for those who don't know, like, The Witcher is the game is based off of a series of novels, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, written by a Polish author, and he is actually not very involved with the games. They just bought like the licensing rights to use this character in this world, and they make up their own stories and stuff. So I'm curious if the Netflix show will have the author's involvement a little more heavily into it. It'll probably come out within the next year or two. They're really pushing a lot of their original content. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, so that's the thing is, we don't know right now if it's live action or animated, or gonna be some sort of combination of the two. And by animated, I don't mean cartoon necessarily, but it could be something CG. Along the lines of Clone Wars or something like that. So yeah, CG. So we don't know yet what it's going to entail. You would imagine if they did live action, the production cost on that would be insane. I mean, Netflix has the money, they can shell out. But isn't Castlevania animated as well? Is that
Castlevania correct? Was animated. It's supposed to be animated. Yes,
that's what I thought. So I think live action would be cool with this. I think that's what people want to see. But it's early and we don't really know what's up with it yet. But still, Witcher coming to Netflix, that's cool. Not like I mean, it's cool anytime these things happen with video games, I guess, but just the fact that there's never been a good video game movie, there's never really been a good video game
series.
Adam
Sandler's Pixels was a masterpiece of flawlessness.
You wish. I don't know. So just hesitancy about that. Like, we haven't seen that this can be good yet. So we really just, it's hard to say one way or the other. Netflix obviously has a solid track record right now. They're knocking most of their work out of their park.
They can go either way. I think some of their stuff is
what's been bad.
They have just a lot of stuff.
They have a lot at this point. I feel like even the stuff that like you expect to be like very bad is then like, oh, I heard very good critical things about that. Like the stupid Ashton Kutcher sitcom that came out on that. Do you remember that?
No.
I think it's even still going. There's like a sitcom that he did with Netflix. I was like, this is going to be awful. And then I saw like reviews for it. I'm pretty sure they were like overly positive. I'm like, what the heck? What?
It's their content for me is hit or miss. Obviously, things like the Adam Sandler movies can go away. Even though
you've probably never watched any of them, have you? Not saying you should, but
I did try out the first 15 minutes of Sandy Wexler. I did not watch that second one. I watched a trailer for The Ridiculous Six.
Just gonna say that's 15 minutes. You could have played Resident Evil 7, but sure.
There's a lot of things. This podcast, we're 36 minutes in. This is 36 minutes. I could have played Resident Evil 7.
It's true. So maybe we should just end it early.
Oh my.
I mean, I feel like their series though are more often than not of a high quality between Marvel, House of Cards.
I haven't enjoyed the Marvel stuff, but I am definitely an outlier in that. Except with
what have you watched of it?
Daredevil seasons 1 and 2. I tried Jessica Jones, like maybe 4 episodes. Couldn't get into it. Wasn't interested. The villain didn't strike my fancy.
The villain's the best part of that.
The Luke Cage. I watched an episode. I don't know why I didn't go back, but I didn't. I didn't touch Iron Fist because I heard very bad things critically
Iron
about
Fist's tone is weird. I haven't watched all of them myself. I mean, I've long.
My friend Kevin enjoyed. Like, he had fun with Iron Fist. It had its issues, but he had fun with it. But so I'm curious about Defenders, how that's going to pan out. I'm also very worried about Daredevil season 3, but I am looking forward to Punisher.
I don't know if they even talked about Daredevil season 3 much yet, because Defenders is centering around the Hand and Elektra once again. The Punisher's got his own spinoff now. I don't really know if they've.
It's gotta happen. Wilson Fisk is making his moves.
I mean, it'll happen, but I bet it comes. I bet the plot for season 3 is somehow tied into the fallout of what happens in Defenders.
Probably.
The Defenders is going to be season 3 of Daredevil, probably, for all intents and purposes.
Probably. I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. But so the Marvel stuff's hit or miss for me, but I'm definitely an outlier in that. Really, I watch Chef's Table, House of Cards, and Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, yes. Yeah, I feel like they do well for the most part. So Netflix is probably a good place for.
They make a lot of money.
Netflix is a good place for
they spend a lot
Witcher to go with this. It's just will it turn out? Okay, quick questions. Who do you want to play Geralt? If it is live action. A lot of people want Mads Mikkelsen, which I think would be awesome.
That would be.
He's not.
That would be good.
He's not ripped enough, but you're gonna have to cut some things here and there. You can't create a perfect Geralt. Like, he's a weird looking character. Like, he's as ripped as like a guy in his mid-20s, but he's also like got this freaking 60-year-old man look to him.
I really would have to think about that one, because Maz is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of hot take articles out recently. Like, here's who should play.
Who should play Geralt?
Who should play all the characters? I think
who should play Yennefer? Who should play Triss?
One of our guys at Dual Shockers, his name's Tyler. He did an entire breakdown, and he listed like 10 or 12 actors that he'd like to see play specific roles. He did pretty good with it too. I give him a lot of credit. So you can find that on the site somewhere too.
There will not be a link to that in our show notes.
There might be. Why not?
I'm not digging on Dual Shockers to find an actor list for the Witcher show.
It's you don't even have to. It's like, I think it's like one of our hottest articles for the past week.
I'm sure it's hot. Click, it's SOE, but
SOE? That hot SOE. I don't even think it's SEO. I think it's just
dyslexia.
Anyway. Next piece of news. Devolver Digital is having an E3 press conference this year. What does that mean? Who the heck knows? Honestly, I think it's going to be kind of a joke. Like, not like their showing is going to be a joke, but I think this was almost said. I think there's like an underlying comedy element to everything they do. If you follow them on Twitter, and their games are kind of, not all of them, but there's like an inherently funny vibe around them as a company. And if you follow them, like I said, follow them on Twitter. A lot of the stuff they tweet out is really lighthearted. And even the tweet where they said this was pretty, like, they included a GIF that was kind of almost like poking fun at themselves. I also know what their situation is like at E3. I think they're set up in a parking lot outside of the studio, or outside of E3.
No, they answered a question on Twitter. It's gonna be there on the show floor.
Okay, so
they did do the parking lot thing last year.
Yeah, so they're doing that again this year, showing off their games outside of the convention center. I don't know if it's in a parking lot, but it's outside the convention center somewhere. I know they have a booth or something set up. So, okay, then they are doing it on the show floor. What will this be? I don't know. They have it. I mean, they publish 1 million games. So they're like one of the top indie publishers right now.
They put out some magical games like Hotline Miami and Downwell. And that's all I've played from them.
And that's all you can think of, yeah.
Minute looks really cool.
SteamWorld Dig, General Jousters, Enter the Gungeon.
That's all them too?
I guarantee you, if I read off a list of what they have published, your mind would be blown. And you'd be like, oh, I know like 10 of those games.
Probably.
Luftrausers. Hold on, I'm going to their website right now. I'm pulling a Max, and I have to
digging it up. That research,
pick up something right now.
I did look it up earlier. It is called Freytag's Pyramid. The narrative structure.
Okay, Freytag's Pyramid. I've never heard of that in my life, but
falling conclusion.
Sorry. Hold on.
He was still looking for it, but
Force. Like I said, General Jousting, Foul Play, Mother Russia Bleeds, Titan Souls.
I own
had a Full Boyfriend 1 and 2. Which
they put out the pigeon dating sim.
Awesome. The Serious Sam HD packs, Shadow Warrior 1 and 2, Strafe, the Talos Principle.
Lots of stuff. All right.
Yeah, they put out a lot. So yeah, Ollie Ollie 1 and 2.
Ollie Ollie was them?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I told you, a lot of stuff besides just Hotline. So they're putting out games left and right. So what will we see at this show? I don't know. I'm not even going to bother to predict, because I guarantee you it'll be new games that we cannot predict. But it's still cool to see an indie developer kind of having a larger presence at the show. I mean, I think they're the largest presence at this show for sure, as far as indie devs or indie publishers go. But it'll be cool. We'll have to wait and see what that conference is like. I don't know. Like I said, I still feel like there's going to be like a lighthearted joking element to this whole thing when they do have it. Like, here we are having an E3 press conference. Like, it's going to be very less. It's going to be really informal compared to the other, 5 or 6 conferences, I guess, that we'll see throughout that week. But it's cool. It's good for them. Fun. Let's get into what are the bigger stories of the week. Actually, let's get into this just because I have nothing to say and I don't care. There was an ARMS Direct on Wednesday. They showed off a Splatoon trailer at the end of it too. I didn't watch any of it because I don't care. All I know is that there's a big booty fighter coming to ARMS. So
that was true. That was
So
I
get
did-
ready to fight with her.
Oh my gosh, there was this tweet, man.
I've
It was
already
like,
seen it where it's
the one,
Kimishima with the, yeah.
how will you save the company? And it's just a picture of Zelda's butt and then this new arms fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too good.
So Arms Direct, pretty
Arms
much
Direct.
they showed off a couple new characters and then
New characters, new modes. It has more characters than I thought the game was going to have at launch, which was good because they seemed pretty quiet about it. I like how they're focusing on the personalities of these characters. It's something hero games do a lot of, and I think it's a very good strategy for Nintendo introducing.
Well, that's inherently Nintendo though as well. Like Mario Kart or something like that. Like every one of those characters has a distinct personality to them.
Just wait till you get the Arms characters in Mario Kart.
I don't know if they're coming.
Hey, the Splatoon characters are in there.
Yeah, but this has been discussed for a while, but like adding DLC to what is the deluxe full complete edition of Mario Kart.
No, I wasn't talking about Mario Kart, just Mario Kart in general as a franchise. Yeah, like eventually it's just gonna be Nintendo Kart. So
which
they added
should be.
It should be. They put new modes in there, or not new modes. They revealed new modes, which I added a bit more to this game than I thought. Sure, they're just smaller, fun games, like the basketball one or the target punching one, but it adds to the package, which makes me feel pretty good about it. And they also announced a global test punch, aka just an online beta for the game, which is going to be taking place on times to be announced, but on the weekend of May 26th through the 28th. And then June 2nd through June 4th.
Can I just take a moment to say that their betas suck? Like,
I've never had a problem with them.
Suck. They're horrible. Why would you limit 1 hour time slots to play a game?
Oh,
that's the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. You have to sign up for a specific time to play the game. Like that is so strange. Like, look at all of the other successful betas throughout the history of games. Like, Overwatches went for months. The Destiny beta, which I know, alpha and beta, which I know you were huge into, like those like extended play times, like an hour of the game. Well, the game's out in a month, so the game's out in like 4 weeks, actually 3 or 4 weeks. Like
it's the week. It's that Friday of E3. You're right. That part's always struck me weird. It on one part, which is really the only part I can see why they would do it, is it lets them stress test their servers because they know everyone would theoretically hop on it at that time. But that is such a small, limited example. I really don't know why it's not.
I think it's more of just a demo. With this, it seems like more of a demo than anything.
Which is
a lot of developers, I think, know that the best way to sell you on their game is to just get it in your hands. And I mean, even going back to Nex Machina, when I talked to Michael, I can't remember how do you say his name. When I talked to him, I asked him about like what he wants to stress with Nex Machina, and he's like, well, it's the same thing I said with Resogun. If you can just get your hands on the game, I don't need to tell you a single thing about it, and then you can understand for yourself. So I think with a lot of devs, and I think it's less of a stress test with here and more of just people are uneven about this. Let's get it in their hands and see what their response is.
Arms into arms.
That was awful. That was really bad. You should think twice next time.
It's interesting. The motion controls in this game, I was reading about, they really aren't like, in my head, I pictured Wii boxing where I'm like full on pushing my arms out, punching the air. This is more like dual joysticks, twin stick, where you're just kind of tilting and moving that way, which I think is subtle motion controls.
You can play it all without motion controls.
You can. It has traditional controls as well, but I think opting for the subtle over dramatic, much better option to kind of distinct it from the Wii, I guess, because motion controls are so odd. The game's music sounds pretty good. I walked away being way more interested in this game than I thought after that direct. And I'm excited to try it out in this beta. And then my roommate is getting the game, so I'll be able to have more hands-on with it before paying for it if that's something I want to do. My thing is I usually don't stick around for competitive fighting games.
Well, it's very much in
or
the
competitive games in general.
it's in the same wheelhouse as Splatoon for me, where it's like I can respect Nintendo for creating a new game like this. I can respect Nintendo for putting a game like this together and like really getting behind it, because they really have like pushed this game hard the past couple months, ever since it was revealed. And I think there will be an audience for it, but it's just not me
for you, and that's fine. Yeah, that's perfect.
I enjoy the memes and all that crap with it. Like, it's very much, I understand what the game is and stuff like that, but I'm not going to sit down on a Saturday afternoon and be like, I want to play ARMS. And because I know that, it's like, okay, like I'm out. And if one of my friends gets it or something like that and we play it together, like, I'm sure I'll have fun with it, but it's just not anything that I need. And that's how I always felt
with me, because that's what I'm interested in the most. Is
it depends on if I can sign up for the specific time slots and all this.
You don't sign up.
Don't you have to do something? Isn't it regional or something like that?
No, they haven't announced the times yet for this one, but it's that weekend and then whatever time it is. But you just download the demo on your Switch, and then at that time you boot it up and play. You don't sign up.
Okay. Well, whatever. I thought it was regional or something like that, where it's like West Coast is live now, or East Coast you can play now.
It's not by coast, it's by country. And then Europe has their own weekend, but Europe is a different weekend entirely.
Yeah.
I'm interested in it. They ended the direct with a Splatoon 2 single player trailer, which looked really cool. So curious to see that. They had some really new cool looking weapons and ideas in there. I feel like they get to just experiment and do what they want in that mode. So that game's shaping up. They also revealed a Splatoon colored Joy-Cons and a Pro controller. And God help my wallet, I want those pink Joy-Cons. They look so good.
Don't buy more Joy-Cons. There's like 1,000 games out you haven't played.
But those Joy-Cons,
they'll be there forever.
They look so good.
Until you have a steady income before you buy more Joy-Cons. You'll have more Joy-Con than you do games.
I didn't say I was gonna buy it right off the bat, but it looks so good, man. They are nice looking.
God help my wallet. So
I always say that when something cool. God help my wallet for that Persona 5 vinyl, but that's not happening.
No,
man, that vinyl is nice.
It's a good thing too.
That soundtrack is so good. You
can listen to it on the interwebs. They have it for free there. You don't need your hipster vinyl.
I love video game vinyls.
To me, Splatoon 2 looks very much like another 2 that we might talk about later on, which instead looks more like a 1.5 to me.
What?
No. We'll touch on that in a second, because I know that'll be our most heated back and forth.
Heated?
I think maybe not heated.
We're on the same page, I think.
Let's jump to Ubisoft though. So this is why I wanted to wait into E3 predictions, because holy crap, there's like a ton of news with Ubisoft, and this is also why we're probably not going to be predicting a lot of things for them.
It's not really even news. It's just like they did a report and all this stuff.
There's 2 big elements of news. So the first big element of news is that Far Cry 5 is a thing. There's been a lot of speculation over that the past few weeks. I mean, I think it is kind of a surprise. I mean, that one report got out where it was like an unannounced video game is coming in September of this year, blah, 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 blah.
We don't know if that's that game.
Had you thought, I mean, it's got to be that game. Had you thought for a moment about Far Cry 5 at all coming soon?
So, yeah, because Primal's was out last year. It's a franchise that they make so much money.
I haven't thought of that franchise in a while. Like,
I mean, I haven't played it since 3.
I didn't think it would be coming out, or I didn't think it would be announced and coming out this year. I thought it'd maybe make more sense for next year or the year after.
I think that makes sense, because Primal was a different team. So people who were working on 4 went and made 5.
I guess I mean, in my mind, like, there was so many other things this year that I did not think we would get a Far Cry game as well. It was totally not on my radar. So the past few weeks when we started talking about that, I was like, oh, wow. Okay, Far Cry's this year as well, I guess. Like, it just seemed I mean, I was surprised when that report came out and people started putting the pieces together and the rumors started flying about that it was going to be Far Cry. So now we've got this confirmation that Far Cry 5 is a thing. It is Far Cry 5 too, because we had that discussion a few weeks ago on whether or not it would be
a number
5 Well, here's the thing I'll say about the number too. So everybody was locked into this. It's an Old West thing, and now I think people realize that it's set in Montana probably, but it's also in modern day.
That's what Jason Schreier was saying.
It's also in modern day. So this whole Old West thing, I don't know where that got started, but I kind of bought into that. And I think because of that, I was expecting it to be the whole Far Cry subtitle, Far Cry Gunslinger or something like that. Far Cry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah, Far Cry 5 is coming. We'll know more soon.
That's all we know is it exists and it's coming out this year.
It exists. It's coming soon. We will see it at E3.
All the games they talked about.
I will probably play it at E3. Maybe we'll have to see what happens with that. I'm not really sure.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm going to Ubisoft's show though, so I'll see it there. So that's announced. Assassin's Creed. They revealed there's no formal title. They just said Assassin's Creed. Learn more at E3. Okay, duh. We talked about Assassin's Creed last week. We've seen screenshots. And everybody knows that it's called Origins. So there's that. The Crew 2 was released or announced, not released. The Crew 2
released.
The Crew 2 was released in their earnings report. It's out now. The Crew 2 was announced, which surprised a lot of people.
Surprised me.
I don't think it's that. They had 12 million people play that game. Like, that is a lot. And I know that constitutes, if you put the game in your console and boot it up once, you're one of those people. But still, 12 million people over a 2-year lifespan, that's a really, really good number.
I mean, yeah, that makes money, yeah.
So that was profitable. Here's the thing. They've also talked about their game, which of their franchises were profitable, or which of their previous entries in the franchises were profitable. The Crew was profitable. So was Steep, which was really interesting to me. They made money off of that. And
For Honor
has been profitable as well, which For Honor has a solid community built around that game like that. That's very much in the same wheelhouse as Rainbow Six Siege, where it's like you don't hear a lot about it, but there is like a very dedicated community surrounding that game. So they've been doing really well in terms of like just making the money and being a company. And the other thing I'll give Ubisoft credit for is they don't have that stigma where everybody's like, Activision's evil, EA's evil. Like, Ubisoft finds a way to make profits, but I think for the most part stays in the good graces of gamers. And I don't buy into the whole...
It's because they have Aisha Tyler host their E3 show.
No, I don't think that's... In fact, I would say that's a negative because it becomes really cringy sometimes.
That's writing. I think she's a good host.
I think she's a good host too, but they've found a way to continue to be endearing to gamers. And I'm not one of those people who ascribes the whole EA Activision's evil garbage. I think that's so stupid, and that's just the internet being the internet. But if we are going to talk about the internet being the internet, like, you really don't see a whole lot of hate or vitriol directed towards Ubisoft. If you do, it's more just like, oh, it's the same game, it's open world, and you got a checklist of things to do, and blah, 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 blah. But like,
that's what it is.
I like that. Like, I'm totally fine with that more often than not. Like, so
it can be daunting.
So yeah, and then the last other thing. So a couple days, I think a day later.
Nope, yeah, same day.
No, it was a day later. I wrote the story for it, so I know it was a day later. The following day, they revealed that the South Park Fractured Butthole and has a new release date of October 17th this year. So a 10-month delay. It's supposed to release on December 6th, and it has been indefinitely delayed since then. But they released a new trailer for the game, showing off more of the story and some of the new combat system. And they announced that it'll be coming on October 17th. So the Crew, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry 5, and South Park, they said all of those will be coming within their fiscal year, which means between now and March 31st of 2018. So that makes sense.
South Park's been a wild ride, man. I remember when that game was revealed, and then they had a date, and then it got delayed, and then it was delayed again, and now it's like a whole 2 years after.
I'm fine with it, though. Like, it was a game.
Oh, it's fine. It's just been a wild ride.
I hope it doesn't... I don't know. I hope it doesn't land amongst a bunch of other stuff, which it's going to. And I don't want to see it get buried. I really don't. And I think there is an audience around it who's excited to play that game. But I thought they had such a good date and time carved out last year with December. And obviously, if it needed a 10-month delay, there's a lot they needed to fix. So
or fix or
good
add.
Good on them for fixing that or giving themselves more time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look at something like Mass Effect, where it's like, this game very obviously shouldn't have come out. Why did you force it out before your fiscal year ended?
Because sales.
Yeah. So I mean, it's good to see that it has a new release date. Of course, everybody immediately, oh yeah, I'm sure that's not the final release date. I don't think they'd give us one. They went quiet for, I mean, that delay happened in November. So they went quiet for 6 or 7 months before they gave us a new release date. I'm sure they wouldn't have done that unless they know that this is the date they're going to hit. But yeah, I'm totally excited to play that game. The first one was a ton of fun. Did you play that? I don't even remember.
Nope. I bought it on my PS3 when there was a price error. I played a little bit. It's totally a game I would love because
I was going to say it's
Paper
really,
Mario.
It's really up your alley. Like, I'm surprised you never did get through it.
Yeah, I think it was just a weird time. I think I bought it just because it was a price error. I like the idea of having it on the new boxes though, because hooking up the PS3 would just be a pain, and you can get it if you pre-order the game. But
yeah. So if you pre-order right now on PSN or Xbox, you get,
which means you pay for it in full. Yeah.
Yeah, you can download the Stick of Truth right now to go with it. I mean, you pay for it in full right now, but you get the game when it comes out on October 17th. So I mean, it
still have $17 in my bank account. So
how do you have? I don't understand that. I would be like, I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would become a woman or a man of the night looking to make some money.
I don't have that kind of body to sell.
I mean, yeah, you do. You've been working out. You've been running and down the street or whatever, like you said on the Model Citizen show the other day. So I try to run. Shape.
Yep, in my peak form. I'm getting by. That's why I'm working so much this weekend. We've got a very good opportunity.
But so yeah, that's all things Ubisoft, I guess. So Assassin's Creed at E3, Far Cry 5, we will know more soon, they said, which
AKA E3.
The way they talked about it made it seem like they're going to say more before E3, but we will see at E3 in addition.
I could see them throw up like a trailer and then reveal gameplay.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm thinking, is they'll probably have a little bit of coverage on that one out before E3. Rabbids will probably be revealed at E3 if I had to guess, because that has been all but confirmed. The Crew 2, I'm sure we will see talked about at E3. And then South Park, I'm sure we'll probably see it. Another trailer. Matt and Trey will probably get up on stage. And
I hope not. I just hope they
fun of their delay. This is the problem internally. So I have that invite to Ubisoft's show, and in my head, I'm like, yes, another cool conference I can go to. And then I'm like thinking about their past years. I'm like, oh, I'd be trapped in there for like 4 hours as they have this really cringy showing. And like, it'd be cool to see the games and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll have to see if I decide to go to that one.
How many E3 press conferences have you been to?
None.
I don't know. I'd go.
I'll think about going. The good thing is that there's enough space between that and Sony, because we'll have to jet over to Sony after that one ends, which I think there's like a 2 or 3 hour gap between those.
They used to. Back when Tuesday was crowded, it was like back to back to back.
But yeah, I got
EA, Ubi, Sony.
I didn't mention that either, but invited to Sony's show.
I did. So, I did. You shared that with us.
That one's gonna be fun.
I'll look for you in the crowd when I'm in the crowd at the movie theater.
I will be sitting next to Shu.
Sid
or Adam Boyce, even though he doesn't work there anymore.
I was gonna say he doesn't work there anymore. Maybe you'll sit.
I'll be like, hey, what would you have said in this position? And he'd be like, oh, I'll tell you.
Maybe you'll sit next to Neil.
No, he won't be there. I guarantee you he talks at the E3 Coliseum thing.
Like Neil would be at the press conference. Will The Last of Us be there? No. Will Uncharted?
Probably. Maybe? Yeah. I mean, they'll talk about it.
They'll mention that like Naughty Dog's making 2 games for us, because
they have to hype up what's coming out later this year, which as of right now is nothing outside of The Lost Legacy
and Spider-Man, because duh.
No, that's not out till next year. I don't think I was gonna ask you about that, but that's more of a prediction thing.
Nope.
Simple yes or no. You think Sucker Punch shows their game? I say no.
Yes. Simple. We can talk about it on a prediction show.
Feel like PSX would work better for that.
Nope.
We'll get into it. So yeah, that's Ubisoft. Final news story of the week. The Destiny 2 live stream happened on Thursday. A bunch of stuff was shown. Was any of it that impressive? Not really. At least from my opinion. I want to say this before we get into this. So I am not a Destiny guy. I've tried the series. I like a lot of things about Destiny, to be completely honest. Like, I think the gunplay is fantastic. I think the game, when it is at its best, like, works really well with working with others and playing with others and stuff like that. Like, I think there are a lot of core elements of Destiny that work well at times. It was just didn't feel fleshed up and fleshed out enough to me when I played it back in the day. That said, I went into this Destiny 2 stream and was like giving it an honest look. Like, I was like, okay, let's put myself in the shoes of, I will be purchasing Destiny on day one. I'm totally in on this. Let's see how I feel watching this stream. And everything I saw, to me, didn't look like a huge upgrade from the first game. And I want to preface this too as well before we get into the whole, it doesn't look like a huge upgrade. Destiny's obviously a living game. It has been being upgrade and expansions have come out. Like, that game is changing constantly. So it would make sense that a sequel wouldn't have the same quantum leap as a normal game would that just came out in 2013 and then the sequel comes out in 2017 or 2014, I mean, with Destiny. So that makes sense because they've been upgrading the game on the fly for the last 2.5 years. That said, just still underwhelmed, I guess, by what I saw. We can go with what you saw. Obviously, they showed off a bunch of story stuff. They showed off the first level of the game.
New worlds.
Descend from your Destiny mountain. And
my mountain? I don't
know if I'm on a mountain. Your thoughts.
To summarize how I felt about it, Destiny 2 is Destiny 1 refined, which is good. It's a good thing to refine the gameplay and the game mechanics and stuff. They look like they're streamlining a lot of it. What I got the vibe from this press reveal conference, whatever you want to call it, was Bungie going, look, we made this game and it was cool, but we had a pretty dedicated fan base and it was hard for newcomers to come into this game and play all our cool content like our raids or Trials of Osiris for PvP.
That's why I haven't jumped in. Like, you guys are like, jump in with the Taken King, jump in with Rise of Iron. I'm like,
Taken King would have been a fine jumping point. Rise of Iron, not so much.
I mean, I've mentioned this before with MMOs, but I hate the whole, like, they try to manufacture the jump-in points. Like, hey, you can automatically level up to level 20 and go from there. I'm like, that's not fun. Like, I like the process of starting at nothing and working my way up.
Yeah, but Destiny 1 was not really fun for leveling up, but that's besides the point. I
didn't hear a word you said.
Because it was a bad way.
Destiny Day 1 was like, I traded it in within a week. I was like, this is not my jam.
That gem. So Destiny 2, a lot of the stuff they revealed seemed to be better at bringing people in and having them experience the new content and stuff.
Which I liked.
They did. That was cool stuff. Good. Really big things were like clans are officially in the game now. Before you had to do clans.
How is that a big thing? Like, I don't.
Because of the guided games that they announced, which is so
the
clans
Sherpa mode or whatever they. Is that what you're referring to? The Sherpa mode or whatever, where like one higher level
Sherpa mode. Yeah, it's not really. Sherpa would just guide you there. This is more finding an extra person. So clans officially in the game just streamlines that process because before it was outside of the game on Bungie.net, which was tedious. I can attest to that because you have to be in a clan for certain trophies, and it's a nightmare. Anyway, with that though, clans now can do guided games, which is, say you're getting ready to raid and one of your boys has to leave, emergency or whatever, you can't play. So now you're down a man. You can open up your clan to be like, hey, we're looking for someone to play with. And you can bring in someone else on the outside who plays solo to join and play and do the raid with you, for example, is a big example they had. This is essentially what the Destiny community does, or on a daily basis through Reddit and other services. It's how we get randoms for our raids and stuff if we don't have our full fire team. It's now in the game. That streamlines it for the people that play together, like myself, or the people that play by themselves and didn't get to experience the raid, for example, which might be someone like you or Joe Schmo if you decided to play Destiny 2. I think that's really cool and smart, and it just brings it into the game and makes it more simple.
Gonna be honest, I have absolutely. I mean, I know more than I let on about Destiny. Like, I act like I'm a stupid.
You're reading that grimoire?
No, I'm not reading grimoire. I mean, I know how it functions as a game, though. That said, I know nothing about the raids or how the raids work or anything like that.
So fun.
And I don't need you to like give me a rundown for anything.
No.
Like, I have a rough idea for how they function. But that seemed to be a lot of the changes. I mean, like you just went on there, like talking about raid structure and stuff like that, how that's different.
Well, the raid structure we don't know if is different, but the way to get people to play with is.
And I don't know. Like, that's the one thing that everybody was cheering about. And I'm like, okay. Like, I really don't know about this.
Raids are really good in that game. Well,
I've heard people say it's like
not. Vault of Glass and Wrath of the Machine and even Court of Orc. No.
People who have talked to me about like saying I should jump into Destiny, they're like, jump in, play a raid. You will have a ton of fun. Like, that is the best part of the game by a mile. Like, you should just do that.
I remember doing every raid for the first time. They're so good.
So, I mean, I don't know. And maybe I'd need to get in and do something like that. As far as like the story stuff, which is what I did in Destiny 1, and I was like, there's no structure to any of this. You're just sending me all around, all over the place. I don't feel like anything I'm doing matters. It's just like I'm running around with a chicken with my head cut off. Story stuff looks way more structured this time. The trailer,
baller. I love the premise. I was worried about this too, and I expressed this back when the reveal happened. I was like, "What's this Cabal guy gonna do?"
Why was their reveal so off-putting compared to everything else they showed in this stream? So the story stuff they showed in this stream was like, the tone was serious, like it was dark. Mm-hmm. Everybody's dying, stuff's blowing up, like you're losing your home. And then the reveal teaser with the dude in the bar was like one big joke. And then the other teaser after that was like, and I get that. The other teaser after that, it kept like alternating between the two. And it was like, this is confusing. And then we get into this and it's like a dead serious tone. I'm like, what are they going for with this game? Like, I can't figure it out here. So that was confusing to me coming in and like watching those trailers recently. Like, I don't know what you're going for here. Is this like a fun game I'm supposed to just jump in and have fun with friends? Or is this like, oh, let's be very serious about the story? And I didn't think the story looked bad either. It looks like I was worried about his semblance of structure to it than the previous.
I was worried about the premise of having a Cabal guy just come in and blow up your home. But the idea of him thinking that the Traveler chose wrong and that he could be a better Guardian, I think is interesting. It's not black and white, it sounds like, which is cool.
The CG
trailer,
not trailers, the
cinematic,
the cutscenes, the cinematics looked really good and really polished on that stream. Like, those stood out to me. They were actually, and I don't remember anything like that in Destiny 1, really, if I'm wrong. Not
and there are
from
some
what
Rise of Iron and Taken King had way more of those, yes.
And I'm sure, I don't know how many of those are going to be throughout the game, obviously, but
I was impressed. They're like more cutscenes than ever before, which is
like, I was impressed with them. Like, I thought that it looked good. I don't know how to function within what is an MMO RPG. FPS,
shooting, looting,
MMO FPS. I don't know. It has MMO elements, kind of like Overwatch has MOBA elements to it.
Very light.
It's so that looked good to me. The other thing that I'll say I was impressed with, and I was asking people about as I was watching it, the scale of the opening level and the battles. That was something that was never really in Destiny 1. That sort of grand.
You're talking about the story mission or the patrol areas, like the European Dead Zone?
the story mission stuff. What is it called? Set piece moments. I don't remember any set piece moments like that in the first Destiny. Not at least with the story, not at least when they're tied into the story. And
in vanilla, there was one, and it was bad. Taking Kingdom Rise.
There was like 1,000 things going on in that opening, and enemies are showing up left and right. There's ships flying past you, blowing up. There was just characters are jumping on and destroying ships and ships and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like there was a lot going on that I didn't remember in Destiny. It was like, okay, cool. It looks like they're gonna have some like bigger, more explosive, blown out scenes like this that you get to play through. That's cool. It looked like an actual level from a campaign. Again, it is the opening level, you would have to assume. I mean,
it is the opening level.
So that's the opening level. So obviously they can probably get away with it a little bit easier in that part of the game. I don't know if they'll have huge moments like that throughout the story. Again, it's really not a story-focused game, though, and I get that. So, but I like the added emphasis on it, at least.
I did too. That was one of my big things.
The gunplay and stuff looks as good as ever. The guns look cool and all that stuff. You can carry a new gun now, correct? Or a third gun?
No, you've always been able to carry 3. They've changed the way that it works. Now it's like kinetic, energy, and heavy, essentially. Yeah. And that before it was primary, special, heavy. And that would limit the types. For example,
kinetic and energy, you can alter,
they could be the same type of gun.
Yeah,
they could be. You could have a sniper kinetic and a sniper energy if you really wanted to rock 2 snipers, for example. Which gives a little bit more player choice there, which is cool. One of the big things I really liked was they've streamlined the exploring the world part. So no more do you have to go down to the planet, run around, and then I'm done patrolling. I want to do this mission now. Go back to orbit, pick the mission, and then load back into the planet. You can now start missions directly from the planet or load into them. So like if I wanted to travel from Earth to Mars, for example, even though Mars isn't in this game, I could just go straight to Mars from Earth.
Which was another thing that like all the Destiny nerds were like flipping out about.
No more going to orbit.
I'm like, okay, like that's not I'm sure for the hardcore Destiny fans, and I get this because I see stuff like that with other franchises that I like, where they're like, hey, remember that thing from our last game? Well, that's gone, and I'm happy about that. So I get it, but to me, it was like, all right,
it's okay, a big deal.
That's not a selling point to me. Man. That's not a selling point to me necessarily.
Just slap it on the back of the box. You don't have to launch to orbit, and you sell 1 billion copies. It's great.
So I think there is a good amount of positives here, but like I said at the start, none of them felt like, to me, hey, if you missed out, this is why you need to jump in. And they kept like trying to cater to people like me. I felt like, where they're like bringing in new players and making them feel welcome with the old ones and blah 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 blah, like stuff like that. So I felt like they kept talking to me, but the things they showed me, it was like, you haven't shown me a specific reason for why I would jump in now if I didn't jump in with Destiny 1. So I don't know. And I think the one other thing I want to say too about Destiny is that I talked about ARMS and Splatoon and how I don't think those games are for me necessarily. I don't know how much this game is for me. I've never been a big loot guy. Like, honestly, the only loot-based game I really, really like is probably Borderlands 2. Like, that is about all I can think of.
Destiny is really the only loot game I've played.
So, I mean, some people freak out about certain weapons and stuff like that, and that's just
for life.
That's never been my thing. So, because of that, I think
exotic, it becomes your thing.
It's harder for the game to click with me, I think, because of that. Again, like it did just feel like a half step.
It is Destiny refined. Like I said at the beginning of this section, it's good, positive changes. PvP is getting all modes are 4v4, which is good because that means maps and modes are designed with that in mind, which could hopefully lead for a better PvP experience. The only other big thing, which doesn't even pertain to me too much, is Destiny's coming to PC now, and it seems like it's going to be a full-fledged PC port with all the bells and whistles. It's going to be played through Battle.net, which is Blizzard's service, which is kind of cool. It's a smart place to put that. It's, it can be in 4K with
us maybe. that really pissed off to PC gamers. That pissed a lot of them off. I understand the move on Activision Blizzard's part.
The community wouldn't be in Steam. I think Battle.net is a perfect place for this kind of game because the hardcore will flock to it. If you're playing Destiny on PC, you're probably hardcore.
Putting it on Steam would be nice for people. I get that. It's the reason they're putting it on is for their own company interest. Like they're trying to improve that network, obviously,
and they can control it better.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the reasons why they're doing it. It's not the best game launching client out there. I mean, Steam is obviously everybody's go-to. They prefer to use that if they can. But it makes sense. I mean, Activision Blizzard had this merger. Like, yeah, of course you would. If you're bringing the game to PC, like it makes sense to put it on Battle.net. I also want to say they got rid of the name Battle.net like a month or two ago, and now they're calling it Battle.net again.
I don't know. It's weird. It's got all the stuff you would expect in a PC game: 4K, the frame rates, custom keys, all that stuff. It's cool. The big difference is that it can run at obviously 60 frames per second or higher. And consoles are going to be locked at 30, and that includes PS4 Pro and Scorpio. So we will. Bungie's never made a 60 frame shooter, so I'm curious how it's going to feel on PC. But they know how to make it 30 frames.
Wait, did you say it runs at 60 on PC?
It can't uncapped frame rate, so it could go higher than 60, but 60 it can go to.
Well, then you would have to assume, and I don't know if they've said this, but you would have to assume that there's no cross play between.
No,
PC
there is no
and
cross
other. Okay, well that makes sense because that's the reason for doing it on the consoles is like, so you've obviously got PS4 Pro and Scorpio coming out, and they've said that on PS4 Pro it could run at 60 and it could on Scorpio as well, but that gives others who own those consoles unfair advantages in the multiplayer. And also, like, I don't understand why everybody's so hopped up on 60 frames. Like, I know it's good for shooters, but
dude, it's night and day.
It's not on all games. I don't like 60 in all games. Like The Last of Us Remastered, do not care for 60.
The game wasn't designed for 60 though.
I just think the 30 gives it a more cinematic feel overall.
It does.
I don't like the fluidity of it in every game unless it makes sense with the gameplay. Like Nex Machina makes sense at 60 frames. Call of Duty makes sense at 60 frames. Uncharted, like I guess, but
Uncharted was 30.
I don't need it. Like
Uncharted was 30, multiplayer was 60.
Yeah, and I get that. And I'm just mainly like using a game as an example that some people might want 60, but like doesn't have it. So like, I think
it's a shooter though.
Yeah, but it's not a Twitch shooter. That's the thing. Is that there is?
I don't know if you.
It's slower.
Slower
Trials okay, but it's more plotting at times than like freaking Call of Duty where you're just sprinting everywhere.
We'll see if we're sprinting. We'll see if we're sprinting everywhere in this fall. I'm very curious how they're gonna handle the play of.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be fast still. Even the other Call of Duties are still somewhat fast. Modern Warfare 2 are a little bit slower, but by 3 it was kind of amped up a bit.
I'm looking forward to it. Really, like I said, the refined part, and that makes me happy as a big Destiny fan.
So am I wrong as an outsider to look at this and not really see the appeal still for someone like me?
Some of the stuff they announced, yes, like you tweeted out, you're like, some of the things they're cheering for, I don't get, and I responded, I was like,
it wasn't even like I don't get them. It was more just like,
why are they cheering for this?
Why are you cheering
and
for something so small? And they weren't just like cheering like, yeah, okay, cool. It was like, oh my God, this game has completely changed because of this one element. It's like
the hardcore for Destiny are very hardcore. It's a wonderful community, and I really wouldn't have played without Kevin bringing me along on all these journeys. And I can attest that like playing this game with people is very fun, and bringing in guided games and stuff I think is going to help a lot of people. You can play by yourself. They're doing a lot to help that, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm very interested in the story. I think the story is a cool idea. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be good.
My biggest concern though, and this is not necessarily for myself but more just for everybody, once again, how much content is there going to be at launch? Because that was the problem with Destiny 1. There was nothing to do after those initial.
Also, Destiny 1 was very repetitive.
It was very repetitive. Well, that's the thing, is it once you did everything, it was like, hey, no, those things you just did, should go do them again, because that's about all there is to offer with this game right now.
And they've talked a little bit about exploring patrol, and they added new things to do, like treasure and smaller adventures and things. So we'll have to just see when that game comes out. I would imagine it would be probably between Destiny and Taken King levels of content. I can't see it having, because Taken King would include all of Destiny 1 as well. So we'll kind of see how it shakes out, but it's rough to say at this point. I'm glad that they've waited this long to talk about the game, and now it's going to be out here in September, because Destiny 1 obviously had that humongous hype train leading up to it, and then people were fired and the game completely changed. Like, it was a very poor PR situation. And this one, I think, is a lot more controlled, and they know what they're going into. And I think, as far as the community does, we know what we're getting into. Outsiders, not outsiders, but new people, we'll see if they enjoy what's there. I think they've added a lot of options, though, to help keep people.
So from what I see right now, and so this is where it gets into the, this is where therein lies the problem. What I'm seeing right now, I don't feel like I need to get there on launch day. I'm like, maybe if it goes on sale down the road, I'll grab it again. If I get it down the road, then everybody else will be like, come play with me. I'm 30 levels higher than you or something. I'll be like, oh man, this sucks. So,
but you know, if any Destiny fan loves repeating content, people would run with
play
you
through it again. I know, I get it. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
To play with people.
Kevin's gonna buy me the game at launch on launch day. He said he would. So
he said he would buy you the game. He didn't say on launch day. He is a big shot now, so maybe he will.
What's he doing now?
He got a new career, big job.
Is he cooking hot dogs on the streets?
He's got a Destiny themed hot dog stand.
Oh, that's cool.
So you got your Cabal dogs, your Vex milkshakes, your
milkshakes as well.
Oh yeah,
know. They're a pretty big time.
It's a robust stand, all content included. But you can piecemeal your DLC package too down the line. You know, mustard costs 25 cents, ketchup is in 50. If you want the full experience, you can buy the season pass, which includes all the fixins for a flat $10. Pre-order now.
That's it for the news. We will be back momentarily with our topics for the week, of which I know mine, but I don't know if Max knows his. So we'll be back in a moment with that. Until then, enjoy a little ditty here.
Let me punch these in. I gotta go to the bathroom. Water's catching up to me. Be right back.
Okay. Hi, YouTube. What's up? So, gotta talk about that Prey ending. Spoilers for Prey. So, I can't figure out, were you a Typhon? Like, so you get to the end. So, I got the after credits ending. And they're obviously trying to, like, humanize Typhons. And the whole thing was a simulation. But am I a Typhon, or am I a Typhon who was resurrected from Morgan? Because throughout the game, you'll run into certain Typhons, or Phantom, and rather than being listed as a Phantom, it'll have the name of a character from the ship. And you'll, more often than not, you gotta kill him. So, was I that, but was I just the Morgan version of that, I assume? And then they put me in a simulation to see how I would respond. to try to save the Earth. But then again, if I'm correct, and I'm not sure about this, you only get that after credits ending if you do one of two endings, which is blowing the Talos up or doing the other one with your brother, Alex. So if you just escape out of there with Dahl or any of those other guys, like, I don't know if you get that ending, which is kind of odd. Like, if you're in a simulation the whole time, but then that ending doesn't happen where they tell you you're in a simulation, then that's kind of strange. I don't know. A lot of stuff going on. And this leads into my topic, which is multiple endings kind of suck. I don't like multiple endings. And you gotta wait for Max to get back to talk about this, but I'm just very confused. Like, I get one ending to a game, and I feel like I gotta go look up like the subsequent 8 just to see like what my other options were. And then I realized like my option wasn't even good. And this is like one of my things with The Witcher. Like, I hear that game has all kinds of endings, and I just wish games had finished endings, more of them. I can understand it sometimes, but I don't know. We'll talk about it. That's what I want to get into. Max is back. I talked about Prey spoilers. You can talk about whatever.
Oh, you're going to the bathroom. Okay. I have to eat these chips, man. I'm so hungry. Thank you for muting, because I know your bathroom's right there and we can hear you pee. E3, what should I talk about? What should my topic be? Inside scoop for YouTube audience. I was thinking E3 traditions, because that E3 bug is like starting to get in there. I'm really excited about it. I love E3. It's like, it's the best time of year. There's what should I talk about? This is super entertaining, I'm sure. I'm eating spicy sweet chili Doritos. I'm helping Abby pick an outfit. We'll see how it all goes.
What are you doing? Eating ASMR?
Mm-hmm. And talking about what I'm doing. Brainstorming topic ideas.
You still don't have a topic? We can use the one I mentioned. It's just a small, because I really think mine's going to be more long.
You didn't mention it. You said we'll skip it.
What,
you didn't know about it. You didn't mention it.
Oh, I thought I did.
Your backup one.
We'll skip yours. Oh, my backup one was just first half of 2016. We could do that.
That's what it was. Oh, you're saying just use yours.
I was saying we could use that if you want to for yours. You're trying to brainstorm a topic like 90 seconds before we go live. Actually, I have a good topic. Let me just do it's very specific. I don't want to bring it up. Have you watched anything of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds?
Mm-hmm. My roommate played it.
I want to know what you think about that game, because I think it looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really like to play that game.
Get a PC.
That's not a good discussion, though. It's coming to console.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that? They announced that a while ago.
Mm-mm. That's interesting.
Yeah, they said they're developing it for consoles, so we'll see how that works.
Scorpio launch title.
No, doubtful. Probably not till like early next year. Mid.
It's in early access right now. Xbox preview program done. They did that with Ark Survival. Look how that game turned out.
I have another good one, but we may save that for next week.
Let's just talk about yours. Multiple things.
You want to just do that?
Yeah, we're already at an hour and 27 minutes.
It's fine. Brainstorm throughout the week. I got like 6 in the tank.
That's my problem. I'm
Actually,
losing my edge.
One of them's not.
I'm losing my edge, Logan.
One of them's not relevant anymore because it was best mothers in video games for last week. But
Gladys, is she a mother?
no, she's not. It's a freaking robot.
But she facilitates the lab. Grew us in our little pods.
I don't think she's a mom.
I would argue that Gladys is a mom.
How's she a mom? She tries to kill you constantly.
Off the shell. No, science. She's a mother of science. But she also grew all of us in our little clone pods. So
when did they reveal that?
Ended Portal 2 co-op campaign.
Oh, well, that explains it. Never did that.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Or I did it, just never got to the end.
Portal 2 on Switch with co-op.
That means Valve would have to do something.
I mean, that Portal 2 was on PS3 and Xbox 360, so they could put it on Switch. Well, they know because they make so much money.
Valve is not going to take the time to do that.
Dota. Did you know they make Dota?
I mean, they've made Dota. Dota is out. They don't do anything right now, developer-wise. I don't think they have to. They have evolved past that.
Big Dota patch just came out. Changed the game. They're developing. They're just developing for Dota.
I mean, that's one team. They're a massive multi-million-dollar corporation.
And they just do Dota and Steam.
That's all they need.
That's all they need, baby. I'm ready.
Makes the dough for them.
I am ready whenever you are, Chief.
All right, then. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gents. So topics this week. As I said earlier in the show, I didn't want it to. I talked about Prey. And I said we were going to come back to it. And I want to do that in a way. Talking about the ending of the game. So when you get to the end of Prey, it is very much a choice-driven game. And you are given the option to do a lot of different things. And to me, it was... So I obviously made my choices and made my decisions, decided how I wanted to see things through, and got to the ending. And then even after the ending, there was another choice to be made after the ending. So all things considered, there's I guess, probably 7 or 8 endings to Prey. And so this goes beyond Prey, but just finishing another game of that type really got me thinking about it again. How do you feel about multiple endings? Because I really hate them. I outright don't like multiple endings at all. I feel like it ruins the structure of the game. And Prey is an interesting example because they give you so much player choice all throughout the game. Like I mentioned how I accidentally killed one of the characters that was part of a made sign mission thing. That cropped up near the end again. They're like, hey, you killed this dude. You totally killed that guy. And I'm like, oh, shoot, didn't mean to do that. So
wasn't part of my plan.
In games, it makes sense to have those multiple endings, but I have never in my life felt satisfied when I finish a game that has multiple endings. And I think it's just, the first thing I do anytime I finish a game that has those different endings is I immediately go look up the other ones that I could have had. I'm fine with games that give you choice. And I think this is what was so good about The Walking Dead season 1 is that you made so many choices throughout that. But at the end, it got to the same ending with Clem. There was going to be, and even with what happened there with her, between spoilers for a game that's been out for a very long time, you could shoot Lee or you could not shoot Lee. There was even up till the final moments, there were still decisions like that, but they weren't going to impact the final thing that happened, the conclusion. That's why I didn't like season 2 as much. There was way too many decisions there that impacted everything when it was all said and done, and I didn't care for that. I don't like games where there are 7, 8 different branching endings, and they're like, hey, but that's yours. That's the one you chose. Because then immediately in my head, it's what if I'm not happy with that one? And then I go look at another ending. I'm like, that ending's 10 times better. I wish I would have got that one. And it's then I feel stupid for the way I played the game or something like that. And this has been a big thing too with The Witcher 3 for me. That game is so praised by many, but I've heard so many people say oh, I played it so much, but I was disappointed. I got the bad ending. I guess I'll just have to go through it all again and make sure I get the better one next time. I'm like, you played that game for like 200 hours and you got a quote unquote bad ending that you did not like, and you want to play it all over?
I was happy with my ending with Siri. I was not happy for my ending for Garal with his relationships. But that was mostly because of guide work, and I
understand why certain games would have multiple endings, because it makes the choices that you make throughout the game have some sort of amplified effect. And it's not just this flippant, I can do whatever I want and it's not going to affect the storyline at all. I understand why they do it, and some games have pulled it off well. That said, I have never been satisfied. Okay, I have one example where I have been satisfied with the multiple ending, and it is Knights of the Old Republic. I went full Sith in that game, so there was really no other path for me. So when that game ends and I am leading the Sith army with my woman by my side, Bastila, that is a good ending for me. I was satisfied with that ending. That said, there's so many shades of gray now with certain games. Like, again,
I think
Prey, like 8 endings or something like that. Like, I don't know if it's. I don't know if
it's. Nier Automata has a ton of endings.
There's like, yeah, well, there's like with Nier, it's like you need to play all of the endings to get the final ending or something like that too, which I can understand. That's almost like a birth by sleep kind of thing.
I guess, yeah.
So I don't know what's up with that though. But yeah, like there's so many endings now, and there's just like small twists and turns on each of them. Like, oh, you did A, B, and C, but you didn't do D, and therefore you get ending 16. It's like, what? Like,
the games with different endings that I like are similar to Telltale, where it's pretty much the same overarching story, but you get to fill in the blanks in between, almost like a Mad Libs or something. So I like those kind of. I also like things like Infamous, or what sounds like Knights of the Old Republic, where there's pretty much 2 paths. There's good and evil, and you get to play how you want.
If you commit to one early,
right,
then the entire story makes sense. But with Prey, it was like, I'm making this decision that's good, but over here I'm making this decision. It's like I'm going back and forth between the two, and then in the end, it's like, here's your ending, and it's like, this isn't satisfying at all because I wasn't playing either of these ways 100%. So
when there's a bunch, that's one of the things that were not so much worries me, but going back into Persona 4, when I was doing the guide to do it, I was like, for the platinum, you have to get the quote best ending, I guess, and the bad one, I suppose. But I was just like going after that particular ending. In Persona 5, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, man, what kind of ending am I gonna get in this game? And I stress out. I'm like, who am I gonna have a teenage relationship, high school relationship with? Because I haven't met all the characters yet, and that means less time for characters later on in the game. I'm trying to think of games that I don't think I've played too many that have multiple endings, or they're just totally up in the air.
I mean, it's obviously more often than not an RPG thing, which I know you don't play like a ton of necessarily.
No, I think I like the ones where there's like 1 or 2, like Infamous, like I said. But I prefer more tell the story you want to tell.
That's what I'm saying.
With games like The Last of Us or Uncharted.
The Last of Us is a good example because you get to that ending and it's like
you had no choice in that matter.
You had no choice. And that was the thing that bothered a lot of people. They're like, oh, I didn't want to shoot that doctor at the end of the game. And I'm like, bro, that's the point. Like, that is the story they're trying to tell. And you have to carry that out to feel that impact of what you're doing. So I totally love that, because even myself, I got to that point near the end of the game and I was like, I'm sure I have a choice here, because I'd just been like,
trained.
My head had been trained by playing so many other games that I felt like all I had to do was get Ellie and get out of there. No, got to shoot all of them in the face.
But you don't have to shoot them all. You only have to kill. You only have to kill the surgeon, and you don't even have to shoot him. You can just walk up to him and you'll grab the scalpel and like slice his throat.
Okay,
you only have to kill. You don't have to
murder
kill
him in cold blood.
You do. I mean, there's no escape from that. Yes.
So, and then I don't know. I think the other thing I really hate about them is that having so many different options with endings then doesn't make any of them feel any more important than the other. And this is, I think, the problem a lot of people had with Mass Effect 3. you make all these decisions and everything you've done over the course of 3 games has finally built up into this moment, and then it's like, oh, they're kind of all the same. And obviously that ending has way more problems going back through than just the feeling of, oh, this didn't come through or whatever, or my decisions didn't take effect, because obviously they all felt samey and stuff like that. But it's just the fact that, like, no one ending, I feel like, in multiple ending games feels better than the other. Like, again, tell the story you're trying to tell. I don't want, especially in games that are not inherently RPGs, like a Knights of the Old Republic or something like that. Like, just give me an
Could you
ending.
imagine if movies were choose your own adventure? Like, that would be crazy. I much prefer the single story approach. I also kind of feel like sometimes if it's multiple endings, I feel like I have to go back and get all the endings myself.
Yeah. Like, okay, so this is a good example, and I knew about this ahead of time. So I was like prepared, and I had my save files set up, and I was ready for this. But when you get to the end of Bloodborne, there's some choice in that game. But when you get to the end, with like certain missions and stuff like that, certain choice dialogue you have to make with characters if you want the opportunity to get certain items or stuff like that. When you get to the final boss of the game, though, he asks you some sort of question, or he says something to you, and then there's a 2-pronged response, and it's like a yes or a no, something like that. And I knew about this ahead of time, so I had been preparing. But one of the options is you just surrender. He cuts your head off or something like that, and that's the end of the game. The other option is you choose to fight him, and he is the final boss. And that's the true ending, and that is the ending you want to do. But like, I'm like, what if I didn't know about this? I just chose the one option. He chops my head off, game over, start over from the beginning, and make your way back here. Like, that's a dumb choice to have it at the end of a game, I feel like. And that's more
the vacuum has returned.
I can hear it this time. I just feel like it started to invade this choice-driven multiple ending thing. It started to invade games that it doesn't need to invade. Resident Evil 7's another good one as well, where you make a choice about 3/4 of the way through that game, and then it has an effect on the ending. And like, you can finish it one of 2 ways. And it's like, I just would have preferred if this was one continued story, because it feels there's an emptiness to it. It's like, I made this decision, but I know there's an entire other half of this game where I could have done this. And like you said, you feel almost like you need to go back and play that to get the full experience with it. And that totally sucks. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think of other games with multiple endings and stuff like this at this point. BioShock 2 is another good one. There's like a ton of different endings in that game. Infinite at least had the one ending. Boom, you're done. You're out. Like, you can make decisions in that game, or there is the illusion of choice throughout that game, but at least the
sparrow or the cage.
Yeah, at least the ending is the same. Like, those decisions you don't make throughout it are just there to be made. And that's a bad example, because that plays directly into like what the game's trying to do and stuff like that. Like, those decisions make sense, but the ending is at least the same. But I don't like multiple endings to games.
I'm not keen on them.
And so I guess that's the root of it. I don't know if there's anything else we can dig out of this, but yeah, I don't know. The best gaming stories in my mind all have the same, like, through line narratives and sometimes I can make choices, sure, but at the end it needs to come to one final resting place for all players. Those are the stories I remember. Those are the stories that stick with me. Your Metal Gear Solids, your Batman Arkhams, stuff like that. Like, it needs to have one final finishing point, and not this. Again, we're getting crazy now, where it's like there's 32 endings to this game. It's like, what on earth? Just give me 1 or 2 I can get, like the ultimate bad and then the ultimate good and then 50 Shades of Gray. No, porn novel, pun intended, until I said that.
Say.
There's like all these different ones in the middle, and I don't know. It just feels hollow, I think, because of that. So give me one ending. From now on, just give me one ending, games.
Don't worry, Neil Druckmann's got your back.
Yeah, thankfully. Them as a studio, I guess, does. I don't know. Like, yeah, I could keep going, but yeah. And like you said, you probably haven't played as many just because it is more of an RPG thing with the Fallouts and the Oblivions and the
Skyrims.
I don't know. The Elder Scrolls is, I guess we could have just said that to combine those two together.
You could have. But it was an option.
But Max doesn't have a topic this week, so that's it. I wanted to talk about that. Thank you for joining us for episode 94. As we said, next week will be another normal episode for 95. 96 will be our prediction show, so be sure to come tune in for both of those, especially the E3 one, if you want to hear what we think about that show. Until then, you can find us on the Twitters. You can find this show at MGS Podcast. Don't forget that we are a part of Model Citizens Media, which is the brand that myself and Max and Michael Ruiz and Mario Rivera have together, where we've got a whole bunch of other shows. You can find that brand on Twitter. It's at Model Pods. You can find Max on Twitter. He is at Max the White, where he's probably tweeting about Mario Kart and acting like it's a new game, even though it's a game that came out 3 years ago now. You can also find
the best new game ever. It was top of April's sales,
which isn't a huge shock. Nothing else is out for Switch right now.
No, not Switch sales, like MPD, like.
That's what I'm saying. There's nothing else out for that. People are dying for games for that system. So
but it wasn't just
2.5 million, 3 million who own it.
I'm saying out of all the games.
I know that. That's my point.
Not on Switch only though. Like on.
That's my point, Dork.
Okay.
People have that system. They want games for it, so they're going to it in droves when something does come out.
All right, I see now. I feel you.
But yeah, I don't know. Model
Twitter?
Pods on Twitter. I am at Moreman12 on Twitter. You can find our other shows with Model Citizens Media, like the Model Citizens Show, like Behind the Pixel, and like Reeling in the Years on modelcitizensmedia.com or on iTunes,
comeback.
Google Play. Yeah, we did come back with that. So a new episode will be up this week. You can find those on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. You can also email this show at mgspodcast@gmail.com. You can also find this show on SoundCloud. And email us just whatever you want to say. I don't know. Just say hi. We never get emails. And then we're also on YouTube as well. Hello. What is going on, YouTube? You can watch us record our shows live there. We usually tweet out the links in advance when we're recording live on YouTube, so you can come and watch. And if you want to watch us live and you don't want to wait for us to put the MP3 up later in the week, then just come watch us live, typically on Sundays when we record. So follow us again on Twitter at MGS Podcast if you want to do that. And if you could, leave us a review on all of our different platforms, iTunes, SoundCloud. I know you can't leave reviews on SoundCloud, but you can like listen to it or comment. Yeah, do that comment. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all that stuff. If you could leave us a review there, that would be fantastic. iTunes specifically, if you give us a 5-star review, helps us get the show in more people's ears, which is always a good thing. Until 95. Oh, last thing I'll say, housekeeping thing. Design of the show be different going forward, starting after 100. We're trying to get some changes going.
I'm picking the fonts. We've been narrowing down the font.
Mixing the show up a little bit in terms of the art, because that Metal Gear Solid ripoff art probably needs to go after 2 years of doing this. I don't know. We're trying to look at some changes, so we'll see what happens in that front.
It's going to be a shiny new font.
But yeah, we'll keep you updated on that. I mentioned it a few weeks ago, but if you do art and you listen to this show, so the crossover there is probably very limited. But if you want to hit us up either on Twitter or hit us up in our inbox and want to create some podcast art for us, that would be fantastic. Obviously, we would pay you for your services if it is something you want us to do. Not like thousands of dollars, but I'll toss a buck your way if you make us some cool podcast art. So that's something we'll talk about moving forward, or we may not even talk about it. We'll probably just update everything. But yeah, that, and then episode 100. Still trying to figure out what to do for that, because it's 6 shows away. And obviously we've got a whole bunch of E3 stuff coming, and that's got our attention right now. But we want to do something cool for 100. We don't know what. We're thinking about it. We'll get back to you on that one down the line. But that's it for 94. Thank you again for listening to us this week. As always, we love you. Have a great week. Take care of yourself. Play some video games. Bye-bye.
Farewell.